Bureaucrats on both sides of the Atlantic are trying to Bigfoot the voters. Over here, of course, it's the public sector unions and others who want to expand government with Obamacare and even more stimulus spending. Over there, it's the bureaucrats in the European Parliament who want voters to submit to their notion of world government. But at least one of those parliamentarians has had enough. And just like the town hall meetings over here, he is standing up to the bureaucrats right to their faces over there. Listen.
In fact, Commissioner Wren here said they had to agree their budget first before they'd be allowed to have a general election. Just who the hell do you think you people are? You are very, very dangerous people indeed. Your obsession with creating this Euro state means that you're happy to destroy democracy. You appear to be happy for millions and millions of people to be unemployed and to be poor.
That is Nigel Farage. Now, he is a member of the European Parliament and a member of the UK Independence Party, and he is, as you can see, fired up against the bureaucrats. He joins us now from Brussels. Wonderful to see you, Nigel. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much indeed. It's good to be here.
Why do you think that your speech about something that is unfamiliar to most Americans, the way the European Parliament is run, resonated so deeply here in the United States?
Well, my guess is that you've recently had the Tea Party movement in America, and there's a debate in America about the fact that you've got too big a government, which you certainly have, that you're overtaxed, which you certainly are, and there's also a feeling, I guess, in America that there's too much power, too many big decisions being taken by people whose names you don't know based in Washington. So I guess that's kind of a similarity that people have seen from here, although I suspect the situation we've got in Europe is far worse than you've got at the moment over there.
But the similarities are of great interest to us, and the major notion is the larger a government becomes, the less individual power people have, whether they're voters or just people who are trying to go about their business.
Well, I mean, that's absolutely right. And what is happening inside the European Union is democracy within the nation states is actually being abolished. The Greece have gone bust, the Irish have gone bust, chiefly because they signed up to the Euro project when they were never ever suited to being part of it. And now what's happened is a problem that's been created by the bureaucrats in Brussels has given them the excuse to step into those countries, to turn those countries effectively into protectorates of the European institutions, to tell them what they can and can't spend in their budgets. And you know, if you were a voter in Ireland now, it doesn't matter whether you vote for a Conservative government or a Socialist government, because all the big decisions have been transferred across the Irish Sea to the European Commission in Brussels. And the reason I say this is so dangerous is if you take away from people their ability to be the masters of their own destiny by choosing their governments and by getting rid of their governments, if that goes, then all you're left with is civil disobedience or violence.
That's
and
right.
that is my big fear. That is my big fear for this European Union. I think we will see, unless we can get some democratic referendums so that countries like mine and Ireland and others can sort out for themselves whether they want to be self-governing democracies or part of this new Euro state. Without that, we're going to see a growth in extremism.
Well, and again, the similarities are of great interest to me. The fact is that the more you have a nanny state, the more you have the people in power ignoring the will of the voter. We had many polls about Obamacare expressing how many American voters disagreed with its premise and the way it was put into power, and yet the government voted in favor of it. In a whole range of issues, the governing people just ignored the will of the voters. And the more that happens, the less assurance you have in democracy, and the more you take your views out to the street.
Well, I mean, we've just seen that recently. A European court judgment has imposed upon the United Kingdom a new piece of legislation, and it says that now we have to give criminals the vote. Doesn't matter whether they're rapists or murderers or whatever they are, a European court is telling us we have to give them the vote. And David Cameron, who's our Prime Minister, stood up and said it made him sick to the bottom of his stomach that we had to accept this judgment. And what I'm saying to people in Britain, and what the UK Independence Party is saying, is that simply isn't good enough. We should tell the European Court to go to hell. If you've committed a horrible felony, then you lose your rights. You go to prison and you lose your vote. And what the British people are screaming out for are some politicians that will stand up, tell the truth, and stand up to these monstrous institutions here in Brussels.
By the way, there is one issue on which your fight is similar to a fight of a lot of people over here who don't want world government. There are people like George Soros and others who have this vision of world government, and the United States would be a part of that, as well as the European Parliament. That is a very dangerous trend. Do you think the voters have woken up to how dangerous it is?
Not quite yet, no. I mean, I think in many ways, if we think what happened at Kyoto and what they're going to try and do at Cancun next week, in many ways, the argument that global warming was going to burn us all to a crisp within the next 3 weeks has been used as a way to take away our democratic rights by binding future governments to targets that were agreed by previous ones. So we've seen that. We're certainly seeing supranational government here inside the European Union, and the President of Europe, a man called Herman Van Rompuy, he is very open in saying that he sees the European Union as really being a sort of test bed for global governance. So, you know, whenever anyone says, oh, anyone that talks about this is away with the fairies, this is all fantasy stuff, it isn't. These people actually believe in this stuff.
Fascinating stuff. By the way, one final point. Is your star rising as people sort of wake up to the dangers of bureaucracy run amok, whether it's world government or whatever? Does that mean that your star is rising, or in fact are the papers and the intelligentsia over there trying to hush you up?
No, they're not anymore. They did for years. Listen, my party, the UK Independence Party, came second in 2009 across the entire United Kingdom in the European elections. What is happening now, through the growth of new media, is we're seeing in Germany, in Greece, in Ireland, right across the European continent, we're seeing law-abiding, tax-paying people standing up and saying, to hell with this, we want our countries back, we want our democracy back. And do you know what? They're going to get it.
Nigel Farage, great to see you. Please stay in touch. We'd love to have you on again.
To find out more about who we are and what we stand for, go to the UK Independence Party website at www.ukip.org.